Okay, I am back. I actually did another video a few minutes ago, but I had to delete it because I was kind of all over the place and my thoughts weren't coherent. And I just, it's the situational perfectionist in me that says, let me go ahead and try to make another video because I was trying to say something and it just wasn't coming out right. I want to talk about an article called "Is Right Wing Populism Just Fascism" by Nathan J. Robinson of Current Affair. Apparently, he's critical of Rising, hosted by Krystal Ball and Saagar Enjenti. Um, I personally like the program myself, but the controversy is over Saagar Enjenti because apparently um, Robinson and others who think like Robinson believes that Krystal Ball is enabling the hard radical right with co-hosting the program with Sugar and Genty, which I kind of think is unfair. I mean, he's not Sugar and Genty may be a paleo conservative, but I mean, he's not. I don't believe he engages in racism, anti-Semitic conspiracy theories, or things like that. That's kind of known in the darker side of what we call paleoconservatism, um, which I would say allude to people who are of the John Birch Society mindset and to the right thereof, John Birch Society. I don't quite think that's Sugar and Genty, in my opinion. But and criticism basically is thrown by other people on the left with Krystal Ball and people like Kyle Kalinske and others for engaging with what's called class reductionism, which basically to me means the old left or the anti woke left. And I'm kind of sympathetic toward it. This doesn't mean that being a class reductionist that I'm absolutely 100% emphatically neutral on all social issues because all I care about is class and class only. No, it just means when you're a class reductionist, it basically means that class-based politics kind of do transcend all other issues. However, doesn't mean that you're going to give ground on those other issues. It just means that whenever you can to try to appeal to people and overlap, there's nothing wrong with reaching out to people to overlap. In other words, you got to think about this. When Donald Trump won in 2016, I think it's irresponsible to say that every person who voted for Donald Trump is basically Richard Spencer or David Duke. That's obviously not true. Um, oh yeah, you do have you do have the race-based vote for Republicans in general, and I know I'm not trying to be offending to people who lean Republicans that happen to be watching this channel, but the truth is the truth. Hey, just as people from the Communist Party USA supports the Democrats, and not and for people who are from the CPUSA, I'm not saying that the CPUSA is the same thing as being a racist, but I'm just saying from their perspective on the other side, this is kind of how they're seeing things, and that's the extent of that. But I think it's kind of detrimental to the left to have this outlook. In fact, when I watch Rising, I think that Shaker and Genty, whether he realizes it or not, I mean, I like to see him as basically a gateway of those who lean right in the paleo conservative direction or what is called the old right, and if they can see issues where they can kind of work with the left, like on being anti-war or trade issues, things of that nature, then if they can come to side the left, I think that I would declare a form of success. But I just think that it's a little irresponsible to say, look at Shaker Agenti because he's a paleo conservative and go, ew. I mean, as I said, I rather I rather have someone like Shaker Agenti around than to sit there and pay credence to people like Rush Limbaugh or Sean Hannity or Mark Levin or Ben Shapiro, who are like just corporate shills and basically get a hard on for every Middle Eastern war that the United States can go and bomb the crap out of, or today in Venezuela, down in Venezuela, to go and try to engage in a coup and create the 1973 Chilean coup, but do it in Venezuela. I don't care for those kind of people. I don't care for these neocons that the establishment Republicans and their second fiddler, the corporate Democrats, who are for the same thing, but are a little more liberal about things. So, but anyway, you look back in the past. You're looking back in the past during the George W. Bush years with the Iraq War. I mean, people like Congressman Dennis Kucinich and Congressman Ron Paul worked together to try to put a stop to this madness that was caused by the George W. Bush presidency. And they came to the same conclusions. They were anti-war. They opposed torture. They opposed the Patriot Act. And where they disagreed, well, they just disagreed. But those were very big issues at that time, and that kind of exists today. I mean, like Mike Lee of Utah, the senator from Utah. I am not a fan of his at all across the board. But he and Bernie Sanders worked on legislation to put a stop to arms sales to Saudi Arabia. And you know what? You know what the arms sales to Saudi Arabia? You know what happens as a result? The Saudi Arabian government received these arms, and they go and they 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 are so they go and engage with Al Qaeda in Yemen to commit a genocide over there, and they and Saudi Arabia's government is in bed with the most radical of Islamic jihadists out there, and the United States sits there and act like, oh, everything's okay with Saudi Arabia, but act like Iran is this the most dangerous country in the world. Which I'm not a fan of Iran, but their acts of terrorism against the United States and the West pales in comparison to what Saudi Arabia is doing. It's all about the oil, you know. But that's another subject there. But but the point I'm trying to make is sometimes to get things done, there needs to be a left-right alliance. But I would caution the left that when you're engaging in this left-right alliance, don't do it the way that the mainstream politicians do it in D.C. when they talk about bipartisanship, because usually bipartisanship, to quote Ron Falcone, means that the Republicans got a bad idea and that the Democrats go along with it. Um, that's just call I call that Tuesday. I mean, it's just another day in Congress when they do the bipartisanship, bipartisanship dance. So, but this whole idea of I can never work with the other side under any circumstances, will be detrimental to the left, because we need to address income inequality in this country. We need to address the environment in this country. We need to get ourselves out of all these wars all across the globe that we got ourselves entangled with because of the military-industrial complex and the neocons in the Republican Party and the corporate establishment within the Democratic Party, the Hillary Clinton wing. So that's where things are standing right now. But we, the whole pissing contest, about this is reaching the left because I started listening to Bosch recently, who's a left wing commentator. Um, his politics is a tad bit too far left, but he's very cerebral and he's very interesting to listen to, and I'll say I get a lot out of it, even if I don't agree with everything he says. But he's kind of pissed with Kyle Kalinske at the moment because of his Bernie bus attitude, which is ironic because Bosch is to the left of Kyle Kalinske, but also because Kyle Kalinske spoke eloquently recently on his show about where it's feasible to work with the right, go ahead and do it. And certainly anybody who knows who Kyle Kalinske is would tell you that he's not an apologist for right wing politics in general. And I mean and he's not Dave Rubin, okay? So Bosch needs to get out for this kick that Kyle Kalinske, people like him, are kind of going the route of Dave Rubin. It seems like that's what Bosch is sort of implying when listening to his program, which is kind of a shame. As I said, I started listening to Bosch and largely like his content, and it gives me something to think about and challenge. But at the same time, I don't. I if you're going to ask me to choose a side between Bosch and Kyle Kalinske, it ain't no contest. But you have to understand when it comes to the left and the right, both got this in common. You have ideological factions on the left that fight among themselves and debate among themselves. Same thing on the right. And with the right, what you got? I mean, you got your libertarians and your paleoconservatives within the Republican Party who's against the neocon establishment, which are the majority. And the neocons pretty much includes everyone from moderates like former Mayor Rudy Giuliani to to horrible right wing religious nut jobs like John Hagee. Basically, these people never met a war that they didn't want to get the United States into. These are the people who are okay with corporatism, and these are people who are okay with basically constitutional rights being trampled on. And what what is basically business as usual for the Republican Party. And within the Democratic side, you got your corporate Democrats, basically ranging from you know Hillary Clinton, you know, these days to Elizabeth Warren, meaning hideous borderline neoconservatism of Hillary Clinton, all the way to a mildly left of center Elizabeth Warren, and that kind of divide. And also, when it comes push comes to shove, these corporatists and the establishment within the Democratic Party usually just play along with the Republicans and pretty much cave into their demands. So anyway, I just am bothered by this Saagar Enjenti bashing. Saagar Enjenti is not Richard Spencer. He is not David Duke. He's not even Alex Jones. I mean, or Pat Buchanan. I mean, um, I would say that I would just listening to his program, to their program Rising. I would say that maybe I would say that he's basically more of a William Buckley type without the neoconservative baggage that William Buckley will eventually go along with. I would say maybe possibly maybe a mildly more liberalized version of Barry Goldwater or Robert Taft um, in that regard. But anyhow, I have ranted long enough. And if you like what you heard today, feel free to subscribe and like this video because liking and subscribing is the only way that this channel is going to grow exponentially. And to share and to tell people about this channel. And I encourage you to go ahead and form your own channel as well because it's important to do so. I mean, it's important for independent thought and free thinking, for freedom of speech, and to basically encourage people to get views from anywhere other than this Fox and Friends, the View culture that exists out there. I'm Bernie Bro. As I said, feel free to like, subscribe, share, and tell everybody about this channel. And I'm going to reiterate once again, I'm trying to get this channel to grow, and my goal is to have 1,000 subscribers by the end of this year. So only you can help make that happen. And y'all take care.